Take your seats. Oh my gosh, I'm just here. Well, everybody here is my favorite person. Before I get anybody saying, you said I was your favorite. Okay, everybody's my favorite, but come on in, everybody, have a seat. And we're going to ease into the program. But as we ease into the program, I'm just bowled over with seeing all of our wonderful colleagues and friends and people who are always so supportive of the African American Cultural Center and of me personally. Dana Wilder, who is head of ODI, the department that we all report to, is here tonight. He is amazing. I mean, you don't even ask him to come, he just shows up for everything, and we're absolutely delighted. So Dana, why don't you come up here and say a word? Okay, that's good. Are you good? Oh, you said a word. Okay. He's the best. Don't be saying my word, Dana. Okay,
Hey, good evening, and thank you for those kind words, Dr. Price. On behalf of all of the cultural centers and the Office for Diversity and Inclusion, welcome to the Black History Month opening ceremony. Tonight we launch the celebrations of our individual and collective stories and break bread together as a university community. I am very pleased that Bree Newsom is here joining us to share her journey tonight, and truly believe that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had her in mind when he said, "Let us be those creative dissenters who will call our beloved nation to a higher destiny, to a new plateau of compassion, to a more noble expression of humanness." Enjoy the evening, and remember that Dr. King also told us, the time is always right to do what's right. Have a good evening.
Oh my gosh, not only is Dana here, my boo Nathan is here from Enrollment Management, and he brought his team, Mona and Suzanne. We're so happy to see y'all. Thank you for being here. Lutz, another one of our partners from the Dean of Students Office, but she's in the center every week to meet with students and that. And she did do a stint at the Rainbow Center as director, so she's really one of us on so many different levels. And oh my gosh, I see who else. Kelsey. Kelsey is new director of the Rainbow. Stand up, Kelsey, because people might not know you yet. There's Kelsey. Betsy and the crew from Counseling and Mental Health Services. Betsy always likes to sit in the back, but I said don't. Betsy, where are you?
I'm over here.
See, oh, there she is. Betsy and her team. We're so happy. And then, oh my gosh, and one of our newest and youngest and most beautiful, Nia. Where's Nia? Nia, can we stand up? Let's get to Nia. And she got the Nia. And Monique, you might as well just join in now that everybody's standing, right? And Dr. Cooper, everybody knows him, but you didn't know Nia. And Micah, did you stand? Did I call on you? Because you know I was going to do it. Micah, stand up. Right? Micah is a friend, and he's in and out of the center all the time. And he's going to tell you a little bit about something soon, so stay tuned for that. And Sydney's mom, where is she? Sydney's mom, I met her when Sydney came as a freshman. And you know, you meet parents early on when they bring their students to campus, and you don't expect, sometimes you don't see them again until graduation. Well, let me tell you something. Sydney's mom, everything we have practically, programs, events, whatever, she is here celebrating and supporting not only Sydney but us. So why don't you stand, please? Outstanding. We are absolutely thrilled to welcome a phenomenal woman to campus, to UConn tonight. We spent some time with her and students up in the African American Cultural Center right before our program. And Bree Newsom, oh my, you just wait. She is absolutely amazing. But we knew that, but to see her in person and for us to hear her was just wonderful. Yara Shahida will be coming here Saturday night, and she'll be performing at the Jorgensen. She was on Blackish. Gladys Knight, the Empress of Soul. I know y'all thought I was the Empress of Soul, the Queen of Soul, but Gladys Knight will be performing here at the Jorgensen on Saturday the 16th. And ending our Black History Month celebration with lots of stuff in between. Simone Sanders, you may have seen Simone. She's on media all the time, particularly CNN. She will be here for our closing ceremony for Black History Month on February 28th. So all in all, and there are lots of other events. Oh, don't miss the screening of Black Klansman at our Soul Food Cinema. Look at the program of events so you can stay in touch, because there's so many things I can't get into. Look at this, look online, look everywhere. But I want you to come to as many events as you can. There are so many people who work very, 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 very hard to put together not only the program of events for Black History Month, but also throughout the academic year. The programming, the extraordinary programming, month after month of programming, day after day is absolutely marvelous. And we have some people we need to thank. Pauline, Steve Cartagena. Let's get Steve. She was trying to like Steve right now. Pauline, come on down. Lynn, come on down. And Tariq is not, he's our doctoral scholar, graduate student. He made me give him that fancy title. But so he could not be with us tonight, but they're absolutely marvelous. Lynn and Darif facilitate AACC Reads. Do you want to say like a second about that, Lynn?
So we are going to be reading this semester. Last semester we read Chaos or Community by Dr. Martin Luther King. And it was a fabulous experience. We read it together, and so this semester we decided to keep on keeping with Women, Race, Class by Angela Davis. Yes. To continue on our look to the past as well as the future for the AACC. So if you're interested in that, it is going to have its first meeting on February 15th, so that will be next Friday at 4:30 in the African American Cultural Center. And we will have Popeyes. No, you gotta come.
You gotta come. But anyway, it's gonna be great. You gotta read. So you'll be hearing more about that. Now to introduce, some of you may know this already, but we have over 33 student organizations that are affiliated and under the African American Cultural Center. That's a lot of orgs. And many of them meet in the center every night. The center is booked solid until our closing time, Monday through Thursday at 11 p.m. and on Friday nights, 9:30. But very, very busy, and I just have to introduce the African American Cultural Center staff. I'm going to ask you to come down. I'm going to ask the officers of the affiliated organizations to come right up here, right up here. And my TAs for PASS and for our diversity studies. So if you will come to the stage quickly, we'll be ready to do some quick introductions. Quickly. That's not called quickly. Or so be ready to tell which org you're representing, and if you're an officer, what that, which office. Come down quickly. Wow, they cleaned up, didn't they? Come on down. Come on. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, as you're coming, we'll keep it simple. Your name, hometown, major, and your organization. That should pretty much do it. And what year? If you want to add something. Let's let everybody get here so we're listening. And I'll ask the people in the front as you, if you speak, you just move back in the area. Mike, she has one here. Thank you, Joe. Okay, everybody on the way. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. While they're coming, let me just thank DJ Kai. Where's
DJ KC Clark, can you please come to the ones and twos?
the DJ?
She's outside.
Okay, and Patrice, where's Patrice? She's not here yet. She's a photographer. Isaiah's right here, the man. Okay. All right. Okay, let's rock and roll.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Milk is
Hi, my name is Milka. I'm a senior Human Development and Family Studies major with a minor in Psych. I play many roles. I'm a student manager of the ACC. I am vice president of NAACP. I am also a TA for Dr. Price's class. I think that's the name of her favorite.
My name is Darkest Henry. I'm an elementary education major with a focus in English. I'm from New Haven, Connecticut. Shout out to New Haven. I'm a student manager for Dr. Price, and I'm representing Campus Girls. I'm the community service chair.
My name is Kerwin St. Anne. I'm a junior. I'm from Westchester, New York. I'm also a TA for PASS, and I'm representing NABWA. I'm the community service chair, and as well as Voices. NABWA is National Association of Black Accountants. I'm a communication major, accounting minor, and I'm also representing Voices of Freedom. I'm the co-social media chair.
Hello everyone, my name is Makai Amos. I'm a sophomore, Management Information Systems major. I'm from New Haven, and I am the TA for PASS, the treasurer for the Black Students Association, and the social media coordinator for Brothers Reaching Out Society.
Hello, I am Jayla. I am a sophomore. I'm a PNB and Africana Studies double major. I'm a TA for Dr. Price's UNIV, and I'm in CIS, NAACP, and BSA, but I'm just a general body member, so.
Hi everyone, my name is Sydney Alexis De La Rosa, and I'm a TA for Dr. Price's class, PASS. I'm also Chief of Staff to the Vice President for USG, and I'm a content creator for Odyssey.
That sounds important, doesn't it?
Everybody, I'm Kiana Nolan. I'm president of Minority Health Matters. I'm also treasurer of Craziness Ministry. I live in Stanford, and I think that's it. Oh, and my major is the Black experience in health.
Wow.
Hi everyone, my name is Paula D. Cameron. I'm the vice president of VOF. I'm a math major and I live in East Hartford now.
Hello everyone, my name is Ebony Kalai. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and I'm the president of the Voices of Freedom Gospel Choir.
Hello everyone, I'm Joasia Keating. I'm a junior. I'm from Stanford, Connecticut. I'm a communications major with an accounting minor. I'm the president of AAPA and the public relations chair for NABWA.
What is that?
AAPA is the African American Professionals Association.
Hello everyone, my name is Tiffany Kennedy. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. Applied mathematics major. I'm a senior. I'm president of Craziness Ministry, and I'm a co-captain for UConn All-Stars.
Hello, my name is Ilya Donat. I am Vice President of the National Council of Negro Women, UConn section, and Editor-in-Chief of the Vision, which is the Black Arts and Wellness Journal through the AACC.
You will see more about that tonight.
Yes, indeed.
Hello everyone, my name is Abby Katz. I'm a senior here. I'm the president of the Black Students Association, and my major is individualized free cultural and sustainable society with a double major.
Let's be sure to be speaking up.
Hi everyone, my name is Arity Edebesin. I'm a senior from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm a Human Development and Family Studies major with a concentration in early childhood development, and I'm the president of the National Council of Negro Women, UConn section.
Hi, I'm Najee Flowers. I'm a junior psychology and sociology double major, crime and justice minor. I'm the president of Black Environmentalist and the historian for Nabalsa.
I'm Nicole McLean. I'm from Windsor, Connecticut. I'm a junior biology major, psychology minor, and I'm representing NCNW, VOF, and Black environmentalists.
Hi, I'm Paris Pruitt. I'm a biology major in my 5th year. I'm the president of the new Theta chapter of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated.
Hi guys, my name is Alexis. I'm an HGFS major from New Haven. I'm the I'm the public relations chair for ASA. And co-event coordinator for Campus
Hi everyone, my name is Jordan Hatton. I'm from Hartford, Connecticut. I'm studying marketing with a concentration in digital media and analytics. I'm the president of the Zeta Lambda chapter of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, and I'm also the senior advisor for the Black Students Association as well.
Hi everyone, my name is Louie Kalimba. I'm a senior in my major is Childhood Sciences with a 3PA, and I work at the ACC.
Hi, my name is Jada McMorris. I am a sophomore here from New Haven. Major is sociology. I'm on a pre-law track. I'm also a TA for Dr. Price's class, and I'm the social chair of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated.
Hi everyone, I'm Janaya. I'm a freshman from Hamden, Connecticut. I work at the AACC, and I'm the secretary for UConn Center Park Ministries, and then, I'm a bio major right now.
Stay tuned, I think that's what she meant.
Hi, my name is Jolene. I'm a sophomore, psych major on pre-med track. I'm event coordinator of Campus Girls, and I'm representing the band dance team.
Hi, I'm Ward. I'm a philosophy major and individualized. I'm the vice president of Newbie and DXC.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm a sophomore from Bloomfield. I'm a biology major on the pre-med track, and I'm secretary of Newbie and DXC.
Hello, I'm Yvette. I'm a sophomore environmental studies major on the pre-med track, and I'm a TA for PATS.
Hi everyone, my name is Nicole Hamilton. I'm from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I'm a management information systems major, and I'm the president of the NAACP.
Would you kind of give them a big round? Needless to say, I am just so proud of these young people and all of the disciplines they're representing, just amazing students. And David and enrollment, thank you so much. Look at what you bring in every year. Just extraordinary students who come in, not only and have a wonderful 4 or 5 years, whatever number of years of matriculation, and then they go on to graduation and wonderful careers. So thank you for what you do, and thank you, young people, for what you do here. One other person I need to thank, and that is Reverend Dr. Bishop Lisa Clayton. I do have to admit I have a few titles that she's growing into. The bishop will come later, but she is Reverend, and she's been a partner of ours, oh my gosh, since the day you came, right? Practically a few days after I got here. And she's just been so amazing with our students, with the Voices of Freedom. It's been extraordinary, just on so many levels. So thank you for being here. And we'll be seeing you at the closing ceremony with the young people from Hartford Public Schools. Their choir will be coming to join us. So thank you, my friend. I think I've covered pretty much the water. Thank you. Oh, go ahead. Alrighty, so without much further ado, I present to you our MCs who will take us to the rest of the program. Dorcas and nope. Let's rock and roll.
Hello everyone, good evening. All right, let's try it again, come on. Good evening everyone. All right, there we go, much better. So my name is Milka Sajus, like I said earlier. I don't think I said my last name before, but yes, Milka Sajus. I am a senior Human Development Family Studies major from Stamford, Connecticut.
And my name is Darkest Henry Jr. I'm an elementary education major with a focus in English, and I'm from New Haven, Connecticut.
just dive right into our program. So we have an announcement from Micah Human, who is the ACES academic advisor. So if you would give a round of applause for Micah as he comes up.
I'm bringing Monique up with me too, because we got a baby here, so. Now you're listening, right? So we're part of a research team that got created about a year ago, and we're looking to hopefully create some change on this campus, but we need y'all out here to actually do it. So I think a lot of you maybe remember me coming at the beginning of the fall semester to talk about this. It's actually live now for this semester, but we're looking at how microaggressions impact students of color across UConn campuses, both undergraduate and graduate students. The purpose of this research is to create change. We're not trying to fulfill dissertation needs, there's nothing wrong with that, right? But that's not what our goal is. Our goal is to let your stories be a catalyst for change on this campus. So we want to hear your stories and then step out of the way, right? If you want to add anything.
I would just say that this is an opportunity for you all to share your experiences in an authentic way, so it's really important for you to take the time. It'll probably take you 20 minutes max to fill out the survey. And there's also an incentive. Is it $100? $100 gift card to
20 of them to Amazon. So we're going to raffle those off to people. So yeah, 20 of them we're giving away $100. So but please, and just being real, we've already gotten feedback, like people complaining about this study, saying that there's not a problem here. It doesn't, yeah. And they're blaming our study for the reason why race relations are a problem. So, but the more of you we hear from, the less they have to stand on. So we need to hear your voices, please. Thank you.
let us know if you have any questions.
All right. So please make sure y'all do that survey, because I know I am not not the only one who's had microaggressions happen to them on this campus, whether it be by students or by staff, faculty, or just anyone in general. And if the $100 gift card is not enough to make you do it, just the fact that we can make change should be enough to do it as well. So make sure y'all do that, okay? Yes. So I want to apologize first for not recognizing the reason that we're here. My favorite month well, it's not my favorite month, because technically the month I was born was my favorite month. But I mean, it's like my second. Like it's close for first. But yes. So welcome to the Black History Month's opening ceremony. So let's clap it up for that. Yes. So without Black history, there is no history, if y'all really think about it, because we made this place. We really did. So let's clap it up for ourselves. All right. So, do you want to introduce our next?
Oh, yeah, I got it.
Yes. Go ahead.
All right, next we have a performance by Sydney De La Rosa. Can we please give a hand for her, please?
Don't you know I sit around with my head hanging down, and I wonder who's loving you.
Can we give another round of applause? Please, 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 please. That's my song right there. That's my joint right there. Now, can we please, for 1 second, give a shout out to Yusuf Bellamy, please?
Can you please stand? Dr. Price wanted us to recognize one of her many boos.
I know everybody's a boo now. Sorry, give me 1 second.
We here. 1 second. Technical difficulties real quick. Okay. So, excuse that awkwardness. That was just weird. We're just gonna act like it didn't happen. Okay, so moving on. We are going to introduce one of my favorite dance teams on this campus. Whenever they perform, it is literally just awakens my soul, awakens my spirit, especially on this campus because I don't got a home church to go to. So look, it does it for me. So I'm going to welcome UConn Praise Dance Ministry. Are they ready? They outside? Oh, here we go. Yes, give everyone a round of applause.
Sing till the Spirit moves in my heart. I'm gonna sing till the Spirit moves in my heart. I'm gonna sing till the Spirit moves in my heart. I'm gonna sing till Jesus comes. I'm gonna sing oh to my Jesus, 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 till He comes. I'm gonna sing oh to my Jesus, oh to my Jesus, oh to my Jesus. Oh to my Jesus, oh to my Jesus, oh to my Jesus, oh to my Jesus, till He comes. Oh yeah, my Lord. Oh yeah, my Lord. Oh yeah, my Lord. Hallelujah, I'm gonna pray out to my Jesus, oh 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 to my Jesus. Can't you feel the Spirit move? Can't you feel it move? Can't you feel it move? Can't you feel it move? I'm gonna shout out to my Jesus, oh 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 to my Jesus, till He comes. Shout out to my Jesus, oh 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 to my Jesus, till He comes. I'm gonna sing till my Jesus, till He comes.
Yes, let's give them another round of applause, please. That was amazing as usual. Thank y'all so much.
Now we're going to bring to the stage Aaliyah Dannon and the Vision Committee.
Come on up, come on up. Y'all haven't seen the vision yet? It looks amazing. Shout out to them. They did a great job. I just want to know when I can get my, how can I be in the vision? Those photos were amazing. I need my little spread, my little photo op or something.
Thank you. Hey everybody. Hello, hello. So, this is one of the beautiful photos from the vision. It was captured by Ginakachi, who is somewhere in this room. Oh, hello. Hello, hello. So I'm Aaliyah Danette. Like I said, I'm the editor-in-chief of the Vision. We are the Black Arts and Wellness Journal. I'm gonna let everyone else introduce themselves.
I'm Chloe.
Hi everyone, I'm Masira Kamara and I'm a writer for the Vision.
I'm Nation CK. I am the creative director and photographer of the Vision.
Yeah, so there's quite a few of us. A lot of the people who were in the Vision last year graduated, but we definitely are accepting submissions starting next week. We will be meeting starting next week. And basically the intentions of the Vision came out of when the AACC was being formed. It was a way in which Black people could express themselves and collectivize and produce their artwork, produce their thoughts into something that was tangible. And so we are continuing that legacy by holding space for Black creatives, creatives of color, whether you do photography, poetry, whether you wrote a bomb essay for one of your classes and you low-key be flexing about it and you happy, but you don't know how you can share it. The Vision is a space for that. If you have a recipe, if you like to model, if you doodle on your notes, whatever it is that you do that's creative, we want to hold space for you. So if you're interested in joining, you're more than welcome to email thevision.aacc@gmail.com. If you're interested in submitting, you can DM us on Instagram or you can email us, whatever. But yeah, we are here for you, representing you, loving you. Our latest edition is in honor of the 50th anniversary. It's about $20 each because it's full print, full bleed. And there will be copies of the Vision going around for people to be able to see, I believe. Okay, yes. There's a link accessible on the website in case you'd like to see it. And if you're a part of the Vision and you're showing up and you're a member, obviously it'll be a different type of situation in terms of getting your own copy. But yeah, it's really great. If you're interested, hit me up. You can contact me, contact the email, whatever you want to do. We're a very loving, kind bunch of people who just want you to be able to shine as you deserve to in your own right. So I think that's about it, right? Yeah, thank you. Dream Vision.
All right. Can y'all hear me? I feel like this mic ain't on. Should I talk? Should I like scream? No, that didn't work. Okay. All right. So next on our program, we've got a series of performances back to back, all by some amazing and talented students on this campus. So we're gonna first start off with Bryce Howard, a first year student who is ACES major. So still looking for what's right for him. Take your time, bro, no rush.
nigga never walking again. Apologize if I'm hopping again. I know these things happen often, but I'm back on the scene. I was lost in a dream as I write this the team down in Austin. I've been building me a house back home in the South, man. Won't believe what it's costing, and it's fit for a king, right? Or they can sing and explain all the pain and the cost him. My 16 should have came with a coffin, the fame and the fortune. Well, maybe not the fortune, but one thing is for sure, the fame is exhausting. That's why I moved away. I needed privacy, surrounded by the trees in Ivy League. Students that's recruited higher league, thinking you do you and I do me. Crib has got a big old backyard. When stand outside, we pass cigars, filled with marijuana, laughing hard. Thankful that they friends a platinum star. In the driveway, there's no rapper cars, just to get from back and forth. Welcome to the shelter, this is pure. Will help you if you felt too insecure to be the star you always knew you were. Wait, I think police is at the door. Neighbors think I'm selling dope. I guess the neighbors think I'm selling dope. Selling dope. I guess the neighbors think I'm selling dope. I guess the neighbors think I'm selling dope. Death, taxes, and a rate. This is society that make everything feel like a candidate for a Trayvon kind of fate. Even when your crib sit on a lake, even when your plaques hang on the wall, even when the president candidate took a little break just to annotate how I feel. Damn, it's late. I can't sleep cause I'm paranoid. Black and a white man territory. Cops bust in with the army guns. No evidence of the harm we done. Just a couple neighbors that assume we slain. Only time they see us we be on the news and change. Damn. Okay, the neighbors think I'm selling dope. I guess the neighbors think I'm selling dope. Selling dope. I guess the neighbors think I'm selling dope. I guess the neighbors think I'm selling dope. Selling dope. Selling dope. Selling dope. Motherfucker, I am.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm okay. Hold on.
All right, so before we bring up our next performance, we're just gonna do a little roll call. So, who out here is a first year student? Where my first years at? Woo, all right, just starting, I got this. All right, second years? That's it. That's all you gotta do. You gonna do it again? Second year students, come on. All right, and my third year students.
Okay, y'all loud. I hear y'all.
All right, and then the best class. My fourth years, my seniors, where we at? Woo! We're almost done, we're almost out of here.
The fifth years? Is there fifth years?
Fifth years? Yep.
Yeah, I see y'all. Yeah.
All right, and we can.
I got you.
We can't forget the grad students in here. PhDs, masters. Yeah.
Alumni. Is there alumni here?
Woo! Woo! Yes, everybody who's out here is great. Yes. Okay, so you want to introduce our next performance?
Yes, I will. All right, now we have a performance by the Nubian Foxes. Can we please give them a hand as they come to the stage?
It's E. Kelly. Oh, baby, for me. water, some holy water, make it quench this fire. Everybody want me, make I no fall in love with you. But I don't answer them, I tell them, say na you. Right now you come and then you play me for a fool. I'm out here wondering, waiting I do. Yeah, baby, pour me water.
So I fall in love, so getting fluctuation. But they want them up in the apart of the equation. Yeah, but that's in every gift to Jamaica. Not like midnight in every situation. When they come to girl, bring on them things. We rock on the road, going up with them pump up on my eye. Gotta lie. We don't say anyone. We do this for real. We don't gotta try. Ladies coming on and on and on. Tell you why. When come the girls, them sugar. The girl them need this big eye. When come the girl, them sugar. The girl them need me. When come the girls, them sugar. The girl them need this big eye. When come the girl, them sugar. The girl them need me.
You can look at the fucking billion rasta, auntie, the fucking billion footwear, you can quick the fucking billion energy. Unlike jelly, I'm killing them. Flex the fucking billion, baddest, let's go to the fucking billion. Killer, kid, the fucking billion, champion, everybody. This is the remix.
Here for Nubian Foxes. All right, next we have one of my favorite singing groups here. I think they're the best that I've ever heard. Can we give a special shout out, not a shout out, like, let me introduce y'all to the stage. Voices of Freedom!
There we go. While they're coming up, we would like to also introduce, yep, she knows I'm coming. She would like to also to introduce the direction under which Voices of Freedom is under Dr. Reverend Lisa Clayton, the best ever.
Them. They learned that last night. They didn't think they would be able to do it, but then they doing amazing. Okay, for the rest of y'all who sing, rehearsals Wednesday night, 6:30. I look forward to seeing you there.
Yes. Give it up one more time for the Voices of Freedom. And Dr. Reverend Lisa Clayton. Yes, yes, yes. I bet y'all didn't know I could sing, huh? Look. Ran up that stage real quick. Lost my breath and everything. Let me catch myself. Thank you. I'll be signing autographs. All right. So, for the reason we are all here, we are going to have Ms. Dejanay Boland please come up and introduce our keynote speaker. So please, Dejanay, give it up for Day, please.
Hi, everyone. Got me? Okay. Hi, Olivia. Driven by an unwavering belief in the power of the individual to make change, Breen Yusuf established herself as a touchstone of empowerment for disenfranchised people around the world when she tore down the Confederate flag in front of the South Carolina State House in 2015 in the name of social justice and equality. A graduate of NYU's Tisch School of the Arts, Newsom seamlessly blends her artistic talents with her passionate activism, educating and inspiring audiences to organize and stand together to transform society into a world where the lives and contributions of all individuals are recognized equally. Please join me in welcoming Bree Newsom.
Hi, good evening. I love coming on after a gospel choir. That's the best. I'm all in the spirit. Thank you. I feel like I'm about to get up here and preach. Thank you. Thank you for that. Can you all hear me okay? Yeah? Okay, great. Thank you to the University of Connecticut, UConn African American Cultural Center for hosting me today. I want to thank everybody who organized this event and made it possible for me to be here this evening. Thank you to everyone who had these wonderful presentations up here. These students, these performances were amazing. I want to thank everyone who prepared the meal that we're about to have in just a little bit. I promise I won't talk too long because I know y'all are waiting for that as well. Thank you to everyone who's going to be serving it. And thank you to those who managed the tech for us tonight, the AV, the tech. Thank you to everyone who manages and keeps the facilities as well. Can I have my presentation pulled up, please? Wonderful, thank you. Do you know your Black history? Question mark. There's a real fascination these days. Would help if I turn my clicker on as well. There's a real fascination these days with using DNA technology to trace one's ancestry, particularly in this country, where the majority of the population is descended from people who either migrated or were forcibly trafficked here in the past few centuries. There seems to be a fascination with tracing one's ancestry in order to better understand the story of oneself and one's placement in history. This phenomenon is the result of both technological innovation and the ongoing deconstruction of myths surrounding race and human history, which were developed during the era of European colonialism. Discoveries have occurred since the early development of racist scientific theories, which confirm what anti-racist abolitionists have known and argued all along, and that is that race, as it has been understood and organized in the United States, is primarily a social construct with no real basis in biology. In fact, all modern humans on Earth belong to one species, which is Homo sapiens sapien, which first appeared in Africa some 200,000 years ago. Those first human beings were materially no different than we are, right? They had the same emotions, the same intelligence, the same abilities. We know that the common journey of humanity from then until now has been about the evolution of our collective consciousness. That is our shared knowledge and understanding of the world around us that's passed on from generation to generation. And it is this shared understanding of reality that forms the basis of human culture. If we are historically conscious,
are aware that we live within a particular time and place in human history where racism is a pervasive aspect of modern culture and society. Despite the aforementioned advances in science and ongoing anti-racism efforts, the world in 2019 still largely reflects the legacy of European colonialism and the white supremacist ideology that informed it. Now, possessing a historical consciousness is key to deconstructing white supremacist ideologies and systems, because it is through this awareness that we understand that the world has not always been this way, right? To know Black history is to know the history of Africa, especially before the continent was pillaged and plundered by European colonizers. On the slides I have up here for you, this is Kemet and Kush, which is ancient Egypt and Nubia. Of course, you have Mansa Musa, was the emperor of West African empires of Mali and Ghana. This is in 1280 to about 1337 AD. Nzinga of Angola, who fought the Portuguese slave traders. I'm just giving you some examples of much of the history that is glossed over when we are taught that the world has always been this way, right? But the reality is that the stigma attached to dark skin and African ancestry is a modern phenomenon that emerged only with the rise of the transatlantic slave trade, and only because such racist beliefs were necessary to justify the systematic torture of those who were kidnapped from West Africa and their descendants. Of course, none of us is born with this consciousness or awareness, right? The process of going from unconscious to conscious is a choice an individual must make. It's a process of inquiry in which one must be willing to engage, to consider the reality that exists outside of one's immediate experience. The summer of 2013 was a pivotal time in the awakening of my personal socio-political consciousness. The past seemed to be rising in the summer of 2013, and not in good ways. It was in this year that the US Supreme Court invalidated key parts of the Voting Rights Act, permitting states in the South to change their election laws without advance federal approval. My home state of North Carolina wasted no time in creating new election laws clearly designed to make it harder for Blacks, poor people, and students to vote. Laws that made it abundantly clear why the Voting Rights Act existed in the first place. I feel in many ways that events in my home state of North Carolina have presaged recent national events. You see, in 2008, North Carolina's electoral votes went to a Democratic candidate for the first time since the end of the Civil Rights Movement. And in response, extremist neo-Confederate Republicans overtook the state legislature in 2010 and immediately set about identifying and undoing all the things that had made the election of a Black person possible, including voting rights. Now, my parents raised me to operate with an awareness of Black history and of the struggles that were undertaken for me to enjoy the freedoms I have. I was told of my third great-grandparents, Theodore and Minerva Diggs, who were enslaved on a plantation in Rembrandt, South Carolina, where, according to my third great-grandmother, Minerva, she prayed to God every night that her children would see freedom. I was imbued with a sense of duty and responsibility to be the best I could personally be, to honor the sacrifices of past generations who were denied such opportunity. The overall message I received from the adults around me was that my ancestors had struggled so that I would not have to. Others had protested and had been arrested and had been beaten and had risked their lives so that I would not have to. Yet in 2013, I, like many young Black people in America, recognized that no amount of education or hard work or good behavior or wealth could place us beyond the reaches of systemic racism. I saw how quickly civil rights legislation could be undone and how determined white supremacists were to roll the clock back to the 1950s, to the time before the Brown v. Board of Education court ruling. I became involved with the Moral Monday protest movement organized by the Reverend Dr. William Barber II and the North Carolina State Chapter of the NAACP. Along with a group of students and youth activists, I helped plan a sit-in at the North Carolina State House protesting the effort to suppress votes. Our sit-in, which occurred in July of 2013, was also a show of solidarity with the Dream Defenders, a Black and Latinx youth-led organization based in Florida. At that time, Leaders were engaged in a month-long sit-in at the Florida State House to protest the acquittal of George Zimmerman, the criminalization of black youth, and the Stand Your Ground gun laws, which had legalized the murder of Trayvon Martin. A 17-year-old, unarmed black teenager walking in the neighborhood where he lived had been profiled, stalked, accosted, shot, and killed in an act of vigilante violence that's painfully familiar to African Americans. And his killer had been arrested only after 6 weeks of intense national protest. For many of us, the case evoked visions of Emmett Till, a 14-year-old African-American teenager from Chicago who was lynched while visiting family in Mississippi and whose racist killers were acquitted of their crimes. The lynching of Emmett Till would prove to be a major catalyst in the birth of the civil rights movement of the 60s, and similarly, the case of Trayvon Martin would end up igniting a new movement led by black and brown youth across the nation who saw themselves in Trayvon. Millennial activist groups sprang up everywhere. As we continue to organize and build youth and student power across the South, police brutality quickly became the forefront issue of our work as cell phone cameras and social media networks made it no longer possible to ignore or deny the frequency of police violence in America. In the same summer that we protested at the state houses, a young black man named Jonathan Farrell crashed his car in a neighborhood in Charlotte, North Carolina. When he knocked on doors seeking help, a resident called the police who arrived shortly thereafter. Upon seeing Jonathan, a white police officer shot him 12 times in the chest and killed him. A series of back-to-back high-profile police killings of unarmed black men the following year reached a boiling point when an unarmed black teenager named Michael Brown was shot and killed by a white police officer in a place where black citizens had been routinely harassed by cops to generate revenue for the city's coffers. Brown's body was left on full display in the street for hours, a show of total disregard for his life, and the officer involved was not arrested. When residents objected, police responded with K-9 units, rifles, tanks, and tear gas. From around the nation, people mobilized to join the residents of St. Louis in their resistance. The uprising marked a moment of awakening as we looked upon the conditions there and saw that Ferguson was everywhere. In Charlotte, I began organizing with a collective to prepare for what we considered the inevitable day such an event would occur in our city. The United States would witness at least one major urban uprising each year for 3 consecutive years. In 2015, Baltimore erupted in the wake of the Freddie Gray killing, and in 2016, the killing of Keith Lamont Scott by CMPD sparked a weeks-long uprising in my home city of Charlotte, as we predicted would someday happen. We saw an uptick in violence aimed at black churches during this time as well. It was in 2015 that we would learn that the Trayvon Martin case had not only inspired a new generation of young freedom fighters, but also the young white supremacists who entered Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina, to shoot and kill 9 black parishioners during a prayer meeting. In his racist manifesto that surfaced after the killings, Dylan Roof wrote, quote, "The event that truly awakened me was the Trayvon Martin case." Of course, there's a long history of racist violence aimed at black churches because of their historical role as hubs of black community organization and the vital role churches have played in the ongoing civil rights movement. Roof targeted Mother Emanuel specifically for this reason. He traveled to Charleston from Columbia, South Carolina, where since 1961, a Confederate flag had flown above the state capitol as a statement of white supremacist power, as a symbol of defiance against the civil rights movement and increasing pressure from the federal government to desegregate. The writing up here may not be legible for everyone, so I'm going to read it out to you. On the left here, you have William T. Thompson, who was the co-designer of the second national flag of the Confederacy, which is popularly referred to as the Confederate battle flag. And he is quoted as saying, "As a people, we are fighting to maintain the heaven-ordained supremacy of the white man over the inferior or colored race." On the right side there, you have Alexander Stephens, who was the vice president of the Confederacy, and he is quoted as saying, "The Confederacy's foundations are laid, its cornerstone rests upon the great truth that the Negro is not equal to the white man, that slavery, subordination to the superior race, is his natural and normal condition. And the reason I put these quotes up here and I take the time to read them out to everybody is because for some reason in the 21st century, more than 150 years removed from the Civil War, we are still debating what the central cause of the Civil War was, which I think is a product of deliberate miseducation and the rewriting of history. If you go and look at what people were saying at the time, they are very clear about what the central cause of the Civil War was. Now, being a child of the South myself, and descended from a family that has been in the Carolinas for hundreds of years, the meaning of the Confederate flag and the social order it represents was never lost on me. South Carolina was the first state to secede from the Union, arguing that, quote, "we of the South contend that slavery is right." The Confederacy was formed in the belief that African Americans should remain in a perpetual state of bondage. And so this flag was a banner that first represented slavery, and then after the South lost the war, it became emblematic of Jim Crow laws that would govern the South for the next 100 years. Laws designed to control and limit the political and economic power of the free black population. Laws undergirded by a culture of racial terror, whereby black people could be murdered simply for attempting to vote. Like many black families in the South, my own has experienced this violence. My great uncle, who was lynched in Goldsboro so a white man could take his son's newspaper stand. Or my grandmother, who as a child witnessed the Ku Klux Klan drag her neighbor from his house and beat him in the middle of the street simply because he was a black doctor who had provided treatment to a white woman. And though the trauma of such events has led to a climate where we don't discuss these events openly or often, it is the pervasive threat of such violence that made the Confederate flag in Columbia, South Carolina seemingly untouchable for so many years. While there had been many protests regarding the flag, including a boycott led by the NAACP, and although the state continually suffered a loss of business due to its display, the flag remained in place, an ominous symbol hovering above the South Carolina Capitol, a constant source of ire and pain for all those who live in the region and have been oppressed by the ideology the flag represents. In the year 2000, the State House relented slightly and agreed to move the flag from the dome of the Capitol, where it was originally raised at the height of the Civil Rights Movement, to the Capitol lawn. At that time, they took a number of measures to further protect the flag, including passing a law that forbade the flag to be lowered for any reason unless there was a 2/3 majority approval in the State House. The state even erected a 4-foot-tall spoked fence around the flag to protect it and designed it to have an internal pulley system so no one could simply walk up to it and bring it down. Protests over the flag continued, yet state leaders like former Governor of South Carolina, Nikki Haley, refused to address the issue further until, of course, the horrific events in Charleston. So much blood has been spilled in the fight for equity up to this point, and tragically, shamefully, it took the blood of 9 more innocent people to finally shake the conscience of this nation and of the state of South Carolina surrounding that symbol of slavery, hatred, and terrorism that is the Confederate flag. As long as I live, I will never forget the night of the Charleston massacre. It shook me to my core that here we were in 2015 and this level of racial hatred and terrorism was still occurring in America. I will never forget the day after when, like many cities around the nation, we held a vigil for the victims and survivors of the massacre at a local AME church with its own history of involvement in the ongoing movement. I remember being asked by a reporter that night what I thought the next steps were, and my honest answer was that I didn't know. To be honest, as a Christian, I had a personal crisis of faith in that moment. You see, those whose lives were taken in Emmanuel AME Church that night, Cynthia Hurd, Susie Jackson, Ethel Lance, DePayne Middleton Doctor, Tawanza Sanders, Daniel Simmons, Sharonda Coleman Singleton, Myra Thompson, and Clementa Pinckney, rest in peace. They were only doing what Christians are called to do when anyone knocks on the doors of the church. which is to invite them into fellowship and worship. The trauma of it all was exacerbated by events that had taken place in the preceding months, when in North Charleston, a white police officer was caught on video murdering Walter Scott by shooting him in the back as he ran away. The officer then attempted to plant evidence on his body. Clementa Pinckney, the pastor of Mother Emanuel, was also a state senator who just days before being gunned down in his own church had succeeded in getting body camera legislation passed in the state in response to the Walter Scott case. A sense of shock and demoralization overtook the movement. The United States and South Carolina flags were lowered to half-staff, yet due to the law enacted in 2000, the Confederate flag remained high and fully unfurled, even as Clementa Pinckney's casket was processed through the streets of Columbia, South Carolina. The message being sent that day was clear and one and the same as when the all-white legislature first raised the flag in 1961. As photos surfaced of Dylann Roof waving the Confederate flag, there was a renewed sense of outrage over the state's continued endorsement of this hate symbol. And by this time, I had become an organizer in my local community, and I had no specific intentions of getting arrested again as I had during that sit-in. I made a promise to my parents I wouldn't make a habit of doing that. But I determined at the time that an action to take down the flag was a cause for which I would definitely risk getting arrested again. I felt so deeply convicted on it that I really seriously contemplated just going down there and trying to hop the fence and attempt to climb myself, having no climbing experience. It was a Greenpeace activist from New York who actually trained me on the method of scaling the pole. She had all this experience scaling trees and hanging out in trees and protesting over environmental issues, and so she trained me over a day and a half on how to do that. And it was another friend you have to give credit to, another activist friend of mine who was on the phone with me and talking me out of that. He's like, I don't think that's a good idea. I think we should plan out how we're actually going to do this. But that's just how deeply I felt about it, right? That even if there was no way I was going to make it to the top, I still wanted to make the point of how absolutely intolerable it was for this flag to fly another day in that manner. I scaled the flagpole on Saturday, June 27, 2015, and it was at a meeting the Tuesday evening before the action that I would meet many of my cohorts in this action for the first time, including James Tyson, who demonstrated great moral courage when he helped me across the fence and stood guard as I climbed. In fact, if you have seen any footage of me removing the flag, you might notice that as I'm descending the pole, James is grabbing onto the pole and holding onto it, and you can see that in this image here. Well, the reason that he's doing that is we were in the car waiting. We had folks out there pretending to be joggers, kind of on the lookout for when the two police officers who were guarding the flag would step away. They stepped away, we went over there, James helped me over the fence, and I was climbing up. Of course, the officers looked up, realized what was going on, they came back over. And so up until that point, until I was starting to near the top, we've been engaged in this back and forth dialogue, of course, where they're telling me, stop, ma'am, stop what you're doing, come down, you're going to be arrested. And I'm saying to them, this is a nonviolent direct action, I'm prepared to be arrested, trying to keep things as calm as possible in that very tense situation. Well, a police supervisor came over. And as I was nearing the top and getting ready to unhook the flag, he directed the officers at the bottom to tase me. So there was a moment where they had 3 tasers on me. Now, I'm attached to a metal pole. I have metal clasps all over my body. If they were to have shot me full of electricity, especially 3 tasers, there's a real good chance that would have electrocuted me. And that's why James grabbed onto the pole and he said, if you electrocute her, you'll have to electrocute me too. And then they de-escalated. So again, another very clear example. Another very clear example of how police tend to escalate or de-escalate based on the skin tone of the person involved, right? History will rightly remember James alongside the many white allies who over the centuries have risked their own safety and in some cases spilled their own blood in defense of Black life and in the name of freedom. It was with this awareness that we chose to attack a symbol of systemic racism with a direct action that symbolized its dismantling. We discussed it and decided to remove the flag immediately, both as an act of civil disobedience and as a demonstration of the power people have when we work together. We couldn't wait on the state of South Carolina to do the right thing. We had been waiting for South Carolina to do the right thing for over 100 years regarding racial justice and equality. In 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. penned a letter while jailed in Birmingham and explained the need for nonviolent direct action to, quote, create such a crisis and establish such creative tension that a community that has consistently refused to negotiate is forced to confront the issue. That was our goal with this action. By removing the flag, we would force the state of South Carolina into a moral crisis of making the choice whether to leave the flag down or to raise it back up. Of course, in the immediate aftermath, they sent a black person out there to raise it back up. And then 10 or so days later, finally took it down. But achieving this would require many roles, of course, including somebody who must scale to the top and unhook the flag and bring it down. Now, the first question that we have to consider whenever we are talking about engaging in any kind of protest that might result in arrest is, of course, who can put themselves at risk of being arrested, and also in this case, who was physically able to scale the pole in that way. That narrowed it down to about 3 of us out of that group. We were all 3 women, and among those 3, I was the only person of color, and of course, we recognized the powerful image that would be created when people looked up and saw a black woman taking down the Confederate flag in South Carolina. And it was clear that this role would be going to me. We talked through more of the symbolism of the action as a group and collectively decided that it should be a white man, that it should be James, who should volunteer to help me over the fence, stand guard as I climb, and volunteer to be arrested alongside me, putting his own body on the line in a display of racial and gender solidarity. As I scaled the flagpole, my climb would represent the centuries-long struggle to dismantle white supremacist systems, and James's presence would serve as a reminder that the work of dismantling racism cannot be the labor of the oppressed alone, but must be actively undertaken by those who benefit from the perpetuation of racist policies. And we made this decision because for us, this is not, nor has it ever simply been about a flag, right? But rather it is about abolishing the spirit of hatred and oppression in all its forms. I bring everything I have to the cause of freedom. It's a conscious choice I have made to dedicate myself to the causes of democracy and liberation, even to the point of putting my own body on the line. Why? Because I have examined what's at stake for me if I don't. But perhaps even more than that, I've examined the past and asked, where would we be today were it not for those who recognized what was at stake in the times in which they lived? Where would we be today were it not for those everyday individuals who recognized their ability to take a stand in a moment? When I consider what's at stake in this time, I think also of the future. And I ask, what am I doing as an individual? What gifts, what talents, what skills, what resources, what time am I contributing to the collective effort to better humanity? In 1968, King said, we must rapidly begin the shift from a thing-oriented society to a person-oriented society. When machines and computers, profit motives, and property rights are considered more important than people, the giant triplets of racism, materialism, and militarism are incapable of being conquered. This transformation King describes that we must undergo as a society is the process of decolonization. And he doesn't use that term that is in more popular usage today, but that is what he's describing. See, many people think colonialism is over, but since there has never been a real process of reparation and reconciliation regarding the legacy of colonialism and slavery, the reality is that European colonialism and the ideology of white supremacy that informed it has simply evolved into a more highly organized and complex system. Modern colonialism or neo-colonialism looks like what I see in my community of Charlotte, North Carolina, where people who perform the labor of making the city operable struggle to survive and thrive there. Colonialism today looks like people being systematically funneled out of their communities into a prison system that uses them as cheap, invisible labor. It looks like Puerto Ricans being saddled with debt and left to die following a natural disaster. It looks like Native peoples still enduring the legacy of forced displacement, broken treaties, and manufactured poverty. It looks like government workers being deprived of pay their families and their local communities thrown into economic uncertainty for the sake of erecting a wall that is essentially a monument to racism at the southern border. That said, it is not possible for us to uncolonize ourselves, right? We cannot undo the process that has resulted in us being here today in this moment, that has resulted in me being here on this stage speaking to you in this English language as a descendant of both the enslaved and the enslaver. We can only decolonize, that is, to consciously dismantle within society and within ourselves the destructive ideologies and practices of colonialism that we have internalized as a result of our having been colonized. This is a time of great turmoil, obviously. You turn on the news and much of what you see is violence and unrest, and the most consistent message seems to be one of fear. Turmoil isn't something we have to fear, however. Turmoil is an indication that the ground is ripe for sowing the seeds of social change. Every period of awakening and advancement in human history has been marked by this kind of turmoil, and it's true that the darkest hour is right before dawn. So I embrace this as a time of transformation and promise. It's a blessing to volunteer and organize at a grassroots level in my community where I witness the kind of cooperation, innovation, and courage that springs to life when people work together for the betterment of all. It's important that when we give of ourselves, that we do it with an understanding of service leadership, that leadership is first and foremost about service and sacrifice for others, and that giving is first and foremost about grace. Folks often talk about this modern movement being a leaderless movement because it doesn't seem to be organized around one individual person, but we prefer to describe it as a leaderful movement. There's a common belief in shared leadership and collective responsibility. Everyone can help lead the way toward a just society. Everyone carries with them skills, talents, life experience, and knowledge that is valuable to this world, and everyone can apply what they have to the cause of justice. I often get this question, what can I do? People witness all these daily injustices and societal illnesses and sometimes feel powerless and overwhelmed by it all. One doesn't have to be a traditional frontline activist in the traditional sense of the word to be impactful, and I say that because I think oftentimes people think unless you're doing something as dramatic as scaling a flagpole or staring down police rifles or running from tear gas that you don't qualify as an activist. And it's important to understand that movement looks like thousands of people doing thousands of different things in 1,000 different places. Now, protest will always be necessary. I believe protest and civil disobedience are actually a marker of a healthy democracy when people can protest in public. But my point is that we're not going to achieve everything that we need to achieve in the streets, protesting in the streets. There is a role for everyone to play. As a community organizer in Charlotte, I don't need everybody in my community to be a community organizer. Not necessarily in the same way that I am doing it day in and day out. I need teachers to be in the classroom operating with a consciousness of ending the school to prison pipeline, right? I need social workers. I need social workers and therapists who are showing up, who can help us understand how we address the generational trauma that we are experiencing. We need doctors. My goodness, look at what we've seen in the news recently about racism in the field of medicine and in the healthcare industry. We need healthcare professionals and doctors who are operating with an anti-racist consciousness to change all these institutions from the inside out. We need all hands on deck, people in every field and from every walk of life. Everyone must ask themselves, what is at stake in these times? It's also very important that we not allow purpose to get lost in process. And what I mean by that is that sometimes we can get so caught in the back and forth of how we're going to do something that we might lose sight of why we're even doing it. We can get so caught up on models and statistics, methods and theories that we lose sight of a basic humanity. Ultimately, the root of our social issues is a question of what does it mean to be human? How does our understanding of what it means to be human inform the way in which we interact with each other? What are those basic human rights that we should be entitled to simply by virtue of being human and no other qualifier? I've been praised a lot for my courage, but I want to point out that courage is not about the absence of fear, but rather the belief in something greater than that fear and the determination to fight for it. Courage is rooted in a type of faith. I faced tremendous fear when I volunteered to climb the flagpole in South Carolina. I returned to my house after that Tuesday night meeting and prayed maybe more deeply and more fervently than I ever have in my life. And in that moment, I felt connected to past freedom fighters on another level. I thought especially of the Freedom Riders, of those young people who boarded buses and traveled south in deliberate violation of segregation laws. I thought of the courage it took for them to make that journey not knowing what would greet them or if they would even return alive. It was leaning on my faith in God, leaning on the memory of my ancestors and the faith they had to exercise in the times during which they lived. That's what gave me the courage to do what I did. I understood the risk involved in what I was doing, and I understood there was reason to fear what might happen. Yet I also understand that as a human being, the measure of my humanity is linked to my ability to recognize the humanity of others. I knew that I had become part of something so much greater than myself, and that is the ongoing universal struggle of humanity toward a society that is truly free and that truly recognizes the rights of all individuals. This is the cause greater than myself that I risked my life for that day and that I continue to fight for. What we did in South Carolina was in many ways a symbolic action that was perhaps as powerful as symbolic action can be. We succeeded in challenging an old symbol of segregation and created a new image of liberation. The fact is, however, that symbols themselves don't make reality what it is, right? The Confederate flag flew for 54 years over the South Carolina State House, but the simple fact of the flag flying there is not what kept Black Americans in South Carolina oppressed. The flag symbolized the oppression, but the oppression itself is the result of racist policies and social practices that continue to this day. Therefore, to effect real change, we must end policies that perpetuate racial disparity and injustice. You know, we love to speak of dreams in this country, and that can be a beautiful thing to have a dream, to have a vision. But a dream continually deferred is not a plan of action, nor is it intended to be. The only thing that will sustain us is the proactive work of dismantling the current system of oppression and exploitation in favor of systems, laws, and ways of being that both affirm human rights and respect the living earth. As I said before, society must undergo a shift from a state of unconsciousness to a state of consciousness, from being a society organized around the myth of white racial superiority to one that's organized around human rights and a belief in equality. 2019 marks 50 years since the founding of the H. Fred Simons African American Cultural Center. In this moment, you are living the vision of students who were here a half century before you. I was told about the addition that was made to the student union and how when AACC first started out, it was in a basement. Is that correct, Dr. Price? Yes, right. In this moment, you are the visionaries and architects of the reality that students will live a half century from now. What is the world you wish for them to inherit? It will be determined by your consciousness. So, what does it mean to be conscious? I believe it means to be aware of what a fantastic blessing it is to be alive in this moment, to be a human being, to have the power to create and shape a world where there is no hunger and thirst, where there is no violence and oppression, to be children of God, to be as beautifully diverse as every other species, yet blessed with an awareness of ourselves as an endlessly imaginative, creative force on this earth. I truly believe this is a generation of awakening. I believe this is a period of awakening that we are going through as a society right now. This is a generation that already has and in many ways will change the world. So once you become conscious of the times in which you live, the only question to then ask yourself is, what will be my contribution? Where will I jump in to help humanity lift itself up? Ask this of yourself. Answer it for yourself. And I pray that you have the courage to stand on your convictions. Thank you for having me. Thank you all so much. I believe at this point we have a time for a Q&A.
Yes, we do. Sorry, that was loud. I'm going. Yes, we do have a Q&A. It will be moderated by our very own Dr. Joseph Cooper. So, you coming up here? You staying over there? Okay.
Thank you, Milka. If we can just give Ms. Bree Newsom another round of applause. Thank you so much. Your courage, your activism, your words of insight, your historical analysis are inspiring beyond words. And I can't think of a better way to start off this Black History Month, which we know, 2019, 1619 was a particular unique year for African Americans in terms of chattel slavery here. And to be 400 years here and for you to be standing here today and everything that you've done, we greatly appreciate it. You make me a proud North Carolinian. She's from Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm from Greensboro, North Carolina, which is about an hour and a half northeast of Charlotte. And so I just couldn't be prouder of you. So thank you so much and for everything that you do. At this time, we're going to open it up for Q&A. If there are no questions, I can start us off, but we want to make sure we open it up to the audience. We have Pauline here, who has the microphone. If you raise your hand, either she or I will bring the microphones to you. If you could just make sure that your questions, and Milka also has a microphone, if you could make sure that your questions are as brief as possible so we can get as many questions as possible. And if you could make sure that you announce your name and just a little bit, your status here at UConn in terms of student.
Thank you, Dr. Cooper. Thank you, Ms. Newsom. My name is Arnold Kanyangonda. I'm from Nairobi, Kenya. Though America is my other home, I've spent about half my adult life here on and off. And I'm a graduate student, and I also work in community outreach as a graduate assistant, working on political and democratic engagement and also student leader training. Just a quick note and then my question. In thinking about your, I don't want to call it a protest, but your action, it was a reverse of what has been done across the last 400 or 500 years where European colonizers would go somewhere and plant a flag and then rename something. So for example, you find a mountain with a perfectly good name, Chomolungma, rename it Everest. Or McKinley here in North America, not McKinley, Denali here in North America, and rename it McKinley. And the lake around where my ancestors lived and many still live was called Kavirondo before somebody came and decided, let's plant a flag and name it Victoria. So I can't help thinking that the removal of a flag is like an undoing of that. Now, what other ways, what other strategies can that be done? Because I attach a lot of importance to names, and that's why people that know me know I typically sign my emails with both my names, because a lot of the legacy of colonialism and slavery and the oppression of black people has been the taking away of names and replacement by other names. And so for me, the taking away of the flag is one way of taking away that. What strategies do you have, what ideas do you have that we as individuals and as a larger group can use to, take back some names or take back some of this original authenticity, and of course do it peacefully and safely without endangering ourselves?
That's a great question. The whole battle over the naming of things, monuments, flags, symbols, in some ways that is a proxy battle for colonialism and white supremacy, but it's not removed. I'm not saying that it is a side issue. It is very much central to how everything is organized. The reason that all of these Confederate monuments were placed throughout the South was to basically undergird Jim Crow laws, right? So it was about maybe, really like more than 50 years after the end of the Civil War that we had all of these monuments to the Confederacy being erected across the South, and many of the courthouses in North Carolina have a monument to a Confederate soldier in front of it. It's sending a very clear message to everyone about the power that is organized in that courthouse, right? And so that's why I think that while I don't want us to take down flags and change street names and change the names of schools and then everybody says, okay, we've done everything, let's go home, that's all we have to do. Because I think that's very dangerous because we of course have to address the underlying policies and everything like that. But the reality is that these symbols tell us something about who we are as a society. Now when I took the flag down, this came in the midst of a lot of protest around that very issue. You had folks who were tagging monuments to Columbus. You had people who were also had folks in South Africa toppling a monument to Cecil Rhodes. I mean, I definitely did my action with the consciousness and awareness and in solidarity with all of those folks there. How you go about doing it wherever you are kind of depends on what the situation is. So, I mean, part of the reason why I did what I did was because South Carolina had codified in its law all of these protections around the flag. That's why the flag wasn't being lowered. And then in the aftermath of my action, many states throughout the South wrote laws to further protect Confederate monuments and stuff. So I don't know if you were aware in, I believe it was 2017, when they toppled the monument to the Confederate soldier in Durham, outside of the Durham County Courthouse. Well, part of why they had to do that was because in the aftermath of me taking down the flag in South Carolina, North Carolina passed a law that said that they basically took power from local municipalities to decide what kind of statues and monuments and stuff they wanted to have and place it in the hands solely of the North Carolina Historic Society, which has maybe like one person of color on the board. It is, other than that, like mainly, elderly white men. So, kind of know what their bias is going to be. So it kind of depends on what your situation is. In Charlottesville, I'm very well connected with the folks who were organizing to get the statue to General Lee removed in Charlottesville. The situation in Charlottesville was they actually had a city council that voted to remove it. They organized, it actually was started by a black high school student. She started the petition to get it removed. They organized, they did everything that they had to do with citizens. The council agreed to remove it, and then they had this mass mobilization of white supremacists to their town. So there's always going to, in Louisiana, the mayor Landrieu, he went ahead and took all those monuments down in New Orleans. So it kind of depends on what is the climate and the landscape in which you are doing it. There are going to be times that you're going to have to protest and engage in civil disobedience because you're not going to get cooperation from the powers that be. So I would say it really kind of depends on what the situation is. However, I think, again, it's really important that we not simply take things down and change the names of things and then act like it was never there, right? Some people say, don't take down the Confederate monuments because you're erasing history. No, the Confederate monument itself is an erasure of history. The Confederate monument, which glorifies the Confederacy and tries to rewrite the history of the Civil War, is a miseducation and erasure of history. So what we want to do is not only take those things down, but we want to make sure that we're having some kind of community education process around understanding the history and why it was put up there, what it represents, and why we're taking it down. And we don't want to forget that we took it down. Future generations need to be taught. There used to be a Confederate flag in South Carolina. Tell them that it was raised in 1961. Tell them of everything how people protested and they didn't move it until 2000, and then it wasn't until 9 people were massacred and somebody scaled to the top, and days of debate under the state legislature until they simply lowered a flag. Because it's only through the telling of that story that we're really going to understand exactly what the work is that is ahead of us in terms of dismantling racism in our society.
Hello. Wow. Okay. Hi, my name is Odia. I'm a senior. I study cognitive science, political science, and public health. Okay. And my question is along the lines of education. So a lot of people are now getting engaged in social media and activism. And there's a difference sometimes between how much time we can give someone to basically catch up and learn versus when we just don't tolerate certain attitudes anymore. So there's a call-out culture that people don't like. But there's also like, okay, we've been talking about this stuff for a few years, so when is everyone going to get with the program? So how do we strike the balance between giving people time to learn and be human, but also forwarding what we need to forward in order to get to where we need to get to?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think it was Malcolm X who said, and this is paraphrasing what he said, but he was basically saying, like, you have to be careful about being judgmental of people who don't know what you know, because there was a time that you didn't know what you knew, right? So you don't want to just, jump down people's throat and bash them for not knowing something. However, as I said in the beginning of my speech, it has to be a conscious choice on the part of an individual to want to know more, right? So I think, it is important. One of my suggestions is to have a reading list at the ready, have a list of reading and, maybe viewing material that somebody, if they are really interested in learning more about the issue, you can offer that to them and then they can go and study some on their own. I don't believe that it should be the burden of the oppressed to explain to everybody their oppression, because that becomes another layer of trauma and oppression in itself. I can't, even though I'm on Twitter a lot, like clapping back and stuff, I'm not going to be on Twitter every day doing a whole thread on why blackface is wrong. I had somebody reach out to me. This was somebody from like a major paper. They've been back and forth with me reached out. They were like, oh, we haven't, it didn't work out in the past for whatever reason. Would you be willing, but gosh, we've had all these incidents of blackface. It seems like it's a really bad situation. Like, that's what he wrote. He was like, it seems like a really bad situation. Like, when you took the flag down in 2015, maybe people didn't realize how bad the situation was. Would you write something about that? I was like, no, but thanks. Like, because I have a limited amount of energy, right? I don't, and so like, I'm always going to engage in the process of popular education because I believe that. I'm always asking people to share resources with me. I'm going to share resources with you. But I think where you have to make the distinction, some people are going to choose ignorance. Some people are going to choose racism. Some people are very much aware. It's not always about ignorance either. That's the other thing to be aware of. Some people choose to be hateful. That is an unfortunate reality of the world in which we live. And you will know the difference between those people based on how they respond to you offering resources for them to enlighten themselves.
Hi, I'm Shauna Wilson. I'm a freshman English major, and I'm just wondering, how do you stay so in touch with your culture in a society that continually tries to erase it?
That is a great question. I think my mother, I give a lot of credit to my mother because she consciously immersed me in Black culture and my history. She made sure, she was an educator, so she was, and a lot of her work was around culturally competent education. So she was already very aware of those things. She would make very sure that I would, that I had dolls that looked like me. I remember her seeking out little odd finds, like there was an animated film called The Songhai Princess. Has anybody heard of that by any chance? Any strange? Okay, yeah, I didn't think so. It was probably you can probably only find it on VHS tape on eBay now or something like that. But it was a little animated film, and this was before Princess Tiana. Because like when I was little, there were no Black princesses. I remember when they cast Brandy as Cinderella for that major, and that was a big deal because we really did not see any Black princesses, and so my mom would really go out of her way to make sure that I was, surrounded by that kind of imagery. And I think that's important if you're a parent of a Black child, that you were doing that. Today, it's a conscious choice I have to make. I don't just choose to be Black. I am Black. I'm proud to be Black. I mean, in some ways, it's hard for me to answer that question because I can't conceive of not wanting to be what I am. I'm very proud of who I am and the history that I come from, and I think that internalized anti-Blackness is simply rooted in people being disconnected from the knowledge of that history. If you think that you have no history, which is oftentimes what we're told, we have no history, we have no culture, then you're constantly looking outside of yourself to kind of figure out like what your identity is and who you are. So the only antidote to that is to know who you are and where you came from and why you should be proud and why you should walk around with your shoulders back and your head held up high. Because we are, our ancestors were enslaved, they were kept in chains for a period of time. But slavery is also a mental state to a certain extent because you can be freed from chains, but if you aren't free in your mind and your spirit with a strong knowledge of who you are, then they don't have to put chains on you. And I think this last thing that I brought when I was meeting with students earlier, there's a reason why they have for centuries and ongoing to today tried to deprive Black people access to education and access to knowledge of yourself. They don't have a problem giving you a gun. They don't have a problem letting thousands of guns run through our community because if you have tools of destruction but no information or understanding of who you are, then all you're going to do with those tools is destroy yourself. So it's important to recognize exactly how much that knowledge of yourself is connected to your ability to be free in this world.
Hi, I'm Paris again. My question is rooted in intersectionality. So as a Black woman, we're always on the forefront of change, let's be honest. But how do we bring all voices that are Black into the conversation? Because we do have a history of homophobia, we do have a history of sexism, things of that nature. So how do we bring all voices to the table?
Yeah, that is an excellent question. We have to deal with the bigotries that exist within our community. That's the reality of it. Now, I mentioned in my presentation the role that Black churches have played, but there's also a reality that goes along with that Black churches are also very patriarchal in their organization. And there's a lot that comes with that, the suppressing of the voices of women. I have recently been reading this book called At the Dark End of the Street that I highly recommend, which is about the history of Rosa Parks and many of the women who were really kind of the force behind the Montgomery bus boycott. And what's interesting in that narrative was that there was basically, this movement was largely women that were driving the the organizing. And so it's not that their voices weren't there, is that their voices have been erased, is that their voices are being actively erased in real time, not allowed to speak at the March on Washington, for instance. And we constantly erase them today from history, from historical memory. And so that is work that we are going to have to do within our community consciously. It's not going to be an unconscious, that's why I stress so much about unconscious and conscious. Unconscious is when you just go through the motions of doing whatever you are used to. Unconsciously, we look up, and if we don't see a man leading it, we say, where's the leader, right? If we don't see like a particular image that fits our image of what a leader is, we assume that there is no leader, which is part of what has happened with this modern movement. People say there's no leader because it's being led by queer Black women for the most part. And that's really the reality of what's been going on. So we have to consciously say that we are not going to erase voices. We are going to make sure that the people who are most impacted are at the forefront of the issue. One of the reasons that we've had we run into a barrier of trying to address police violence is because the people who experience the most police violence on a daily basis are often the people that we cast aside in society, right? And so we have to look at that. We have to examine ourselves. Why do we dehumanize people for being without a home? Why do we dehumanize people for being trans or for having a dark skin tone or for being queer or for not fitting whatever other standard of humanity we have established? Because in this society, we identify a full human being usually as somebody who is wealthy, Christian, male, right? And everybody else is some lesser delineation of humanity. So that we can't just blame all that on the system, right? That is also the multitudes of us who are internalizing that and then carrying that out in how we interact with other people. We have to change that for ourselves if we're going to get free as a community.
I want to thank everyone for your questions, and at this time we will, and if we can give Ms. Bree Newsom one more round of applause.
All right, so let's give it up one more time for all those questions, those amazing questions, the amazing answers by our keynote by Ms. Bree Newsom. So before we have our last performance of the night, I just want to do a few announcements. First announcement will be just Winter Weekend stuff. So Winter Weekend is this weekend, and there's a lot of different events going on starting tonight, which they have the movie going on downstairs. You can go see that later. They have One Ton Sunday for all of our UConn students. You know what that is, where it's a bunch of ice cream. It's free for students tomorrow starting 11 a.m., sorry. There's the ski trip, and then there's also the New York Rangers trip, which is at Madison Square Garden on Sunday. Yes, on Sunday, tickets are available online. And then, of course, on Saturday, there's the Yara Shahidi conversation, which will be moderated by me. So please be there. Support. I'm so nervous, so I need to see some friendly faces. Yes, so our last performance of the night is my favorite dance team on this campus. Sorry, I'm a little biased because all my little family's in it. But please give a round of applause for Encore.
As Encore comes to the stage, we just want everybody to know that you can get your tickets for Yara from Kiara. She's right here.
It's gonna come, yep, you see, there it is. Yeah, if you haven't gotten your tickets yet, you do have to go to Jorgensen, but because y'all are here, you can get them from Kiara over there, and yeah, Encore, go ahead.
Need you to go away. Still going bad on them anyway. Saw you last night, but did it all day. Yeah, got a murder, yeah, cool way. Got a sticky, yeah, keep it at my dog's place. Girl, I left you loving me, not so shade. Still going bad on you anyway. I can feel like every rest in my memories. Me and Drizzy back to back is getting scary. If you fucking with my eyes, just don't come near me. Put some bass all on your head like that's some Terry.
Let's give another hand for encore, please. And now we welcome to the stage our very own Pauline Bautista. Can we give Pauline a better hand than that, please?
I'm like, I'm fortunate that they actually, remember who I was. Thank you so much. Can you hear me? Which one is best? This one? The first one? Okay, perfect. Okay. In the words of Reverend Martin Luther King, on the night before his assassination, while he was working with those sanitation workers in Memphis, Tennessee, we've got to give ourselves to the struggle until the end. That happened in 1968, and that was over 50 years ago. It is unfortunate that over 50 years later, the United States, a first world nation, still struggles because of its difficult political climate this very day. The government was shut down for over a month, and people anticipate another shutdown to happen on February 15th. Over 50 years later, we have hundreds of federal employees turning to food banks and other resources to keep their families fed. We cannot help but wonder, what would Martin Luther King do if he was here? What would he do, really? What can we do to support each other during such times of distress and inequality? Our African ancestors believed that lighting up a white candle can trigger a moment of reflection, a moment in which we feed from the energy in the room where the candle is lit up. I now invite each and every single one of you to join me in lighting up a candle in honor of those who are no longer here, in honor of Reverend Martin Luther King, in honor of the people who struggled with him in 1968, and of course, in honor of other brothers and sisters who are struggling today. Let this moment show our unity as a community and a family. Please rise. That's when I invite you for a very brief moment of reflection, in which together as a group, we gather to think and send positive energies and positive thoughts towards those who are struggling. You may sit down. Thank you very much. Okay, and now I introduce you, Reverend Lissa Clayton, Bishop Reverend Lissa Clayton, with We Shall Overcome. So let's just join her as one family as we celebrate another Black History Month. If you could please stand, that would be great. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Reverend Lisa Clayton. So now we're just going to call up Ahmed Sugale and Tiffany Kennedy so that they could do, I'm sorry, I've been talking a lot today, I'm sorry. Tiffany Kennedy to do the blessing over the food.
Can everyone bow their heads, close their eyes? Thank you, Father God, for bringing us all here today. We are so very grateful for all that you have done for us and all that you continue to do for us, Father God. I just ask that you bless the hands that may prepare the food for us and bless all of us and make it be nourishment to our bodies. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Hello. Hi everybody, I'm Ahmed Sugale from the Muslim Blessing. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma barak lana fima razzaqtana wa qina adhabana. Bismillah. It means, oh Allah, thank you for providing us this food today. Protect us from the punishment of hellfire. Ameen.
Let's give all of our participants a wonderful round of applause. Absolutely amazing. Miss Bree, you were absolutely wonderful. I mean, we'll be thinking about that for a long time. Just thank you so much for your energy, your activism, and your heart for others to do a good work. So thank you. And for all of our special guests who come, all of you are special, so you know that.